Well, hello everyone. Judging by the title, you can see that we're actually going to be talking about something that's it's something that's really big. There's actually nothing small about this deal at all. This is something that's groundbreaking. And the funny thing is, it's quite weird to me that just a week ago, or a week and a little bit ago, Dark Souls 2 came out on PC, and I was so happy because I managed to get to finally play Dark Souls 2. And I've always been a fan of From Software's work, stuff like Shadow Tower, stuff like Demon Souls, stuff like Dark Souls, stuff like Armored Core. Most of the stuff I haven't really had a lot of time with, but I've managed to read up a few things, and of Souls games I've managed to play. So I've been really happy with what From Software had to deliver in terms of their aspects and their goals as a company. They're a really small company. But now we're hearing that Kadokawa Holdings, well, I think that's what it's called now officially, Kadokawa Holdings, has bought From Software, and these are both Japanese companies. Well, yeah, you could look at Kadokawa as a corporation, not really as a small business. If we're to just if we're to just sum up this, lots of Souls fans are really scared, and I'll get more into that later. And just as a long note here, I've got some mineral water, and we are gonna be talking for some time. The reason why some Souls fans are so agitated about this is because they feel, well, at least some people feel, some people I've talked to or some people I've read from feel that with the corporation buying FromSoft, there might be issues with further future projects that From Software has to develop. So let's just, in a sense of scale, let's just look at the difference of these two companies in terms of size. Just giving you a general idea of how big this deal is and what it has in store for the future of From Software. Well, From Software sales in March 2013, so that was just before E3, right? So boom, news about we were going to show you Dark Souls 2 at E3. People were going wild during that time. From Software sales, I'm just going to quote in US dollars because I would assume that's the international benchmark for exchange rate money, was $30 million, right? In terms of profits in the stocks of the company. But then, if we're to look at Kadokawa's sales during the exact same time, Kadokawa had made a profit in sales of their stocks of $1.6 billion. Billion. 30 million, 1.6 billion. That should just give you a rough idea of just how big the difference between these two companies is. Kadokawa is the big fish in the sea, and From Software is the little fish that's getting gobbled up. It's sad, but it's just the way businesses work. Little fish will always, if a little fish is prominent like From Software, then you better know that the big fish is gonna take interest and eat the little fish. It's just how business works. It's sad, but in terms of this case, there might be something to be said about, but I also believe that there's some good things about it. But anyway, this From Software has got around plus minus maybe 230 employees. And these are guys who are really passionate about what they do. They develop games, they develop concepts and arts of games. They make what they want. They're just a bunch of, well, I don't know them personally, but I would say they're just a bunch of good people who love making games and who like writing stories, and they got together as a business, as a company, to try develop what they thought was good for their company. And most people only know FromSoft from Demon Souls, because Demon Souls was like the sleeper hit that got them really famous. But this company has done lots of things like Armored Core, Shadow Tower, and a bunch of other games. Just to even tell you, the company was officially, how can I say this? It was officially a company on paper in 1986. That is an extremely long time ago, but you know, they worked out and they'd been making titles ever since then, making concepts ever since then, throughout even towards PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and even into PlayStation 3. They had always been there. and trying to make what they loved making. So that's really the history in terms of From Software. Now, if we're to take a look at Kadokawa Holdings or Kadokawa Limited, Kadokawa Shoten was made in or constructed in 1945. So that's already like what, 40 years worth of experience as compared to From Software. So they're way older, and since they're way older, they have probably way more experience and of course way more money and more profits. And Kadokawa as a company mostly has specialized, it was more of a book publisher. They were publishers, right? Not game developers like From Software from day one. Kadokawa is actually a book publisher, and it was really interested in terms of manga and animation. It published lots of manga books, such like, for example, some of the ones I know are Lodos War, Slayers, Evangelion, which was actually one of my favorites growing up. Well, not saying I've stopped growing up, but I liked Evangelion, so good to that. Cowboy Bebop is also something I like. And these are not small publications. These are high budget, high value, high profile mangas and animations that have really become famous. And the thing is, it doesn't really stop there. You can't just say, oh, you've only given me a few examples. Well, I'm sorry, but those are the ones I know. But also, one thing you have to look at is that they also own many other subsidiaries towards Kadokawa that also make publications. They own other companies that print. So they're really big into print, they're really big into movies, and they're really big into animations and series. So this company is really a multi-platform media kind of entity, if you're to put it. And how can I say this? Let me get some of my notes out here. So this really isn't a small deal. It's actually really big. I heard that the deal is to be finalized sometime at the end of May, somewhere around maybe 21 towards the end of May. So there's still time, and people say that the chances of it being bought, because apparently it got around 80% of the stocks. So that's big, man. And it really will affect the future of From Software. And not recently, but over the past couple of years, they also wanted to, since they were big into animation and mangas and books and publishing and magazines, also magazines, yes, that's also true. They also tried to get a crack into the games development scene as well. Hence their interest in From Software right now as we speak. They are also interested in games development. And if you want to have an example of two games that they've recently published that were famous in Japan and within the Western community, in the Americas, the Europes, and in Africa, then you can take a look at two games called Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer is Dead. You can find reviews over the internet, of course, and read for yourself these two games. I'll repeat: Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer is Dead. But people are freaking out and like, oh, look at those two games! Oh my god! These are the people that bought From Software. But one thing you have to understand is that they were the publishers of those two games, right? If you're to look at those two games and look at Dark Souls, it's totally different. Totally different. So people are crying like, oh, if there were to be another From Software game, it would be just like Killer is Dead, or something similar. Oh, people are crying, throwing their shoes out the window, you know. People are really in a panic. But you have to understand that those two games were developed by Pseudo 51. Those are the developers, and Kadokawa only published the games. But yes, they did have influences in the sense that they did pour in money towards those projects. So maybe they could have put in a word or two, like in terms of how they wanted the game to be shown, how they wanted the game to be marketed, and certain aspects of those two games such that it could drive the sales higher. As any corporation wants, it just wants profits. It's one of those, yes, you may be enthusiastic about what you do, but in the end, it's all about profits. But I personally have no evidence of that. For all I know, Pseudo 51 had complete creative control in creating those two games, so you could argue that those were Pseudo 51 games. So, it's... but people, like I said, people are just They're just panicking. And let's look at some of the internal developments that Kadokawa has made recently. They have developed a free-to-play trading card game. I personally haven't played it, but you can check it out yourself. And it's called Ahhhh Collection. Oh, is it? Yeah, Ahhhh Collection. And the way it's developed is that they took the idea of World War One, World War Two, 1940s, 1930s, and before that, battleships, and they kind of changed them into female characters, and these are the female characters that are seen on the cards. And it's a trading card game, so cards are better than others. Some cards are better than others, etc. Different strategies within your cert deck to beat the other player's deck, like any other trading card game. And it's really popular, especially in Japan. It's an online game. It's on PC, but it can't be played on Android. So I don't know. Maybe that's a little problem with their development that they're struggling with right now. That's just the way it is at the moment. But they have taken a crack into development. Also, another thing that they've gone into is a Vita title called Demon Gaze. And Demon Gaze is a first-person dungeon crawler game, RPG style kind of game. And from what I've seen, it's a decent game for a handheld. It's decent, but it's not a blockbuster. It's not something you would classify as a AAA title, you know what I mean, as compared to other games developers that have many years of experience within games development, decades even of games development experience. It's not at that standard. So you could argue that Kadokawa Holdings has not proven itself as a games developer, and From Software fans can be scared in that regard, because just imagine if someone, think about it like this: we have an athlete and we have a trainer, right? And let's just say the athlete is specializing in 100-meter sprints. It would make sense, well, at least to me, it would make sense that the person training the 100-meter sprinter has experience in 100-meter sprints, so that he can give him advice as to how to sprint better, with what technique to use, and, for example, I don't know, what technique to use and what not to do and what to do, right? Because he has more experience, or he has been in the sprinting game for a long time. But in this case, From Software actually has more experience in games development as compared to Kadokawa. So yeah, you can be scared in that regard, but we still don't know, people. There's still a whole future ahead. I'm trying to stay positive about it, but I do understand that there are some negatives. But one thing also you have to understand about, for example, Demon Gaze and Ahhhh Collection is that Kadokawa Holdings being Kadokawa Holdings, those two games also have anime tie-in. So they have an anime of Ahhhh Collection and Demon Gaze. They have a manga tie-in of Ahhhh Games and Ahhhh Collection and Demon Gaze, and they also have they've pretty much set these games into multiple platforms, including their magazines. They've got Ahhhh Collection and Demon Gaze magazines, mangas, comics, animations. It's all there. So this should give you a general idea of what this company is about. This company is about multimedia expression. It's about making movies. It's about making animations, series, books, publishing books, making books, writing books, comics, mangas, whatever you want to call it. They are all into that, and really so far their target market, like the market that they're really getting the most profit from in terms of their comics and everything else, is usually directed at children and young adults. Not saying that they don't have stuff that caters to older adults. Such is there, but it's not the majority of their sales. So yeah, that you could look at that from two sides. This is a company that has a lot of money, and they as much as they haven't proven themselves in development, you could look at it in this sense. In the past, let's take a look at Demon Souls, right? The reason why From Software's games before that, let's let's take a look at the Kingsfield series, for example. It was, at the time, it was a decent first-person dungeon crawler, which really had some of the mechanics that you even see today in Dark Souls. It's like Dark Souls and Demon Souls may be good games, but don't think that those mechanics came from nowhere. Those mechanics were stretched far back throughout Kingsfield 1 up to 4 and Shadow Tower. Those games had it's like they had been building up their mechanics slowly, reaching up to the Souls series, but those games were in first person, right? Those games were good and they sold decently, but not spectacularly, if you understand what I mean. They were good games that made money to such an extent that From Software did not have to shut down due to a lack of profit. They could actually continue business and develop more games, but it wasn't a spectacular sale, something that put them on the map. No, it wasn't. And you could argue that the reason was the people who had helped with the funding and the people who had invested in the company did not invest a lot of money. The company just did not have a lot of money to work with. And you could argue that is the same thing even now, but at least Bandai Namco and Sony, in terms of Demon Souls with Sony and Bandai Namco, Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, they had a little bit more money to work with. Therefore, the quality of gaming increased. And let's take a look at Demon Souls. It was only in PlayStation 3. The reason being, the reason why people always ask, like, why was Demon Souls only on PS3 and why couldn't they make it on Xbox and port it to PC as well? Even now, about a couple of years later, Demon Souls I think was 2009 and it's now 2014, and people still want tie-ins to the 360 and the PC till now. But the reason why was that it was Sony's IP, in the sense that, don't get me wrong, From Software created the concept of the game, but Sony gave them the money they needed to make the game. If it wasn't for Sony, people argue that if it wasn't for Sony giving them the amount of money that they did at the time, Demon Souls might have not been made at that time, or it would have been made under another publisher. Right? So they owned the rights to that game, in the sense that they put in a lot of money. They invested a lot of money into From Software to give them the freedom to make that game. So porting it to other things such as Xbox and PC meant that Sony was kind of giving their money to Microsoft, and that's just bad business. You don't give your enemy money. So that's exactly why. But then after Demon Souls got them the respect they wanted, I guess From Software might have thought to themselves that, we need to broaden our perspective, and then came the deal with Bandai Namco, and they talked and they decided to make Dark Souls. And when Dark Souls came, it sold way better because of the popularity that was there from Demon Souls and from the fans that had accumulated from Demon Souls, and the fact that Bandai Namco was willing to help From Software with money to hopefully make more profits on PS3 and Xbox. And then a couple of months later, due to word of mouth and due to the fans talking good about the game and the marketing that Bandai Namco had at the time, people were like, we really, really want this game on PC as well. And then the PC port came out. It was not a good port, in the sense that not much effort at all was put into it, and the controls were bad. To such an extent that Durant had to make a patch. Durant, being a famous modder, had to mod the game with the DS fix to make it playable, and people still praise him till today for actually fixing the Dark Souls PC game. But that's another story. But the whole point is this: publishers do not make a lot of money from sales over time. And you can look at Dark Souls and Demon Souls in that regard. They made a lot of sales over time, but they never really made a spectacular amount of money within the first day. That new day sale, day one sale, they didn't really make a lot of money. They made a lot of money over time, because at the beginning people got confused, like, oh, this game is so hard, I don't understand what the hell is going on, and they return the game back to where they bought it. But then other people pick it up, would go to the store and be like, I could buy the game for $60, or I could buy the used game for $15, so why not get the used game? And then as time went on, people played the game, more and more people played the game, used copies were sold, and so they didn't make as much money, but they built up a fan base. So right now you could argue that Kadokawa might not like this, but you could argue that with the amount of money they have, hopefully the marketing will be so good that those day one sales might actually be spectacular, right? But then one thing you have to understand is about a publisher. It was actually a smart move, because Kadokawa saw the prominence of From Software. They saw this is a company that's growing and its value in the market is now extremely high because they're making big success. But they couldn't buy. I wouldn't think it wouldn't be not possible, but it wouldn't be wise to buy From Software during the development of Dark Souls 2, right? Because one, Bandai Namco might not be happy due to contract and profits, right? And two, they wouldn't have control over the development of Dark Souls 2. It was actually good that they bought it now, because Dark Souls 2 has been released on all platforms. It's finished, right? And hopefully, well, we don't know for sure, but From Software has not gone a long way within their next project, whichever game it may be. They haven't really gone deep into the development of that. So if they buy it now, they have more say and more control as to what that next project is going to be and how it will shape up as a company. So at least they can have an impact on the first day sales of whatever From Software is going to make as a company now. But we don't know. Maybe they'll take control and start directing people and saying, no, we only want games that do this and do that and do that. In that case, that will be bad, because we liked From Software for what they did as a company. But if someone changes that point of view, pretty much From Software as a company died. You know what I mean? But if they just sit back and say, nah, we're just here to take the cut, we take the profit from whatever the hell you make, then there is a good side to that. The good side being From Software will still make the games they love with the backing of a bigger company. Then there can be a lot of positives to that. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It can be good. There's hope. But we don't know. The deal hasn't been finalized. Like I said, end of May is when it's going to happen, and it really is a big deal. Before I go, my water's about to run out over here. Makes me so sad. I'm so thirsty. Before I go, one thing you have to understand is that in business, big fish will always consume little fish. It's just the way of the world. If in the oil market they're big titans in the oil market, and they see the prominence of oil development in a small country, they will move there and take control of that small country for its oil. It's just the way the world works. I am not saying it's good, but that's exactly how business works. But one thing you can think of before we head it off, one thing that's good that you can think about, put my notes away, is that Kadokawa Holdings has, like I said, it's got its foot in publications in terms of books, magazines, and manga, and animations and movies, right? So for those people who would like to see, for example, a manga of Dark Souls, or an animation, or a movie of, or a magazine of Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and all of From Software's work from the past, Armored Core, Shadow Tower, Kingsfield series, etc., you name it, there is that possibility. But also you could argue that there's some people who wouldn't want to see this. Like, for example, I love the way in the Souls series the story is told in a minimalistic way. You make it what you want it to be. With the information that the game gives you, you paint the picture of the world. But then if you were to make a movie, you kinda can't do that, because in the Souls series your character has no dialogue, but you have to piece out the world for yourself. But in a movie, if the main actor never spoke, it's kind of a weird movie, and they just can't tell the story in the same way. They would have to change it totally, and then if you start making filler Dark Souls stories, then I honestly wouldn't want that. But I could argue the fact that there are people who want to see a Dark Souls manga, there are people who want to see a Dark Souls anime, and there are people who want to see Dark Souls movies, magazines, and multiple platforms. For those people, you can be happy, because if Kadokawa does buy From Software, then there is a chance that that's a possibility, because at the moment it's not really that much of a possibility. And also, since Kadokawa has got like we're talking about Demon Gaze on the Vita, and they've got some Vita experience a little bit of it at least. Wouldn't it be cool? Just think about it this way. Wouldn't it be cool if you had a PSP or a PS Vita? Wouldn't it be cool to be able to play Armored Core on the Vita? Wouldn't it be cool to play the good old classics of Kingsfield 2 on PS Vita? Wouldn't it be cool to be able to play Demon Souls on the Vita? To be honest, I am not at the moment. I do not own a handheld, but if I was told that I could have the possibility to play Demon Souls on a Vita or play Shadow Tower on a Vita, that could give me the incentive to get one. Just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. So with its experience there and with the amount of money it has, that seeing Souls games or past FromSoft games that have been forgotten in the space of time since they're so old, it would be, I think personally it would be fun to remake those games, give them updates to their graphics and updates to their physics and mechanics so that the new generation of gamers could experience what From Software made in the past, and that's a good thing. But anyway, the water is out, the notes are closed. Thanks for listening, and that's just what it just happened. It just happened, man. We'll just have to see as the month goes on what exactly happens with this purchase and what's the future from software. I don't know. Anyway, I'm still enjoying Dark Souls 2. I hope you are too. I haven't finished it though, but I'm getting there. Peace.